Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. My name's Mike with Paradigm Rigging. Today we're going to talk about how to configure a transmitter within the Broadweigh Bluetooth app. So this app is a iOS, Android app. It can be downloaded from your typical app stores, either way you would get them. If you haven't had a chance to check out the other video we had about the Broadweigh Bluetooth load cells, go check that out. That's going to explain how to set up a project, input your transmitter. Today is going to be a quick overview, and so let's get started. We're going to have our app open over here. So we're going to go into our Broadweigh Bluetooth toolkit. We're going to open that up and let's follow our way in here. So once we have the Broadweigh Bluetooth app open, it's going to currently open up to the project I had set up in our prior video. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to click projects, right for our main page over here with the projects. In the top left hand side, I'm going to click menu. A few options in here. So the other day we talked about projects. We're going to look at clicking configure transmitters. This will show up our full list of transmitters that we have right now. I just have one load cell available, which we can see in here. We're going to go click the three dots on the right hand side, configure that item. Configuration pin by default is 4 zeros. If you had anything other than 4 zeros, if you were to do your own custom pin on there, it's essentially like a password that needs to match while you put this in to open up configuration. So if you're trying to lock out configuration, this is, once we get inside, the item you would change. So we're going to keep it as the default 4 zeros, and we're going to go from there. So this will finally open up the load cell. We're going to be able to see the model of the cell, the version, which is going to be our firmware version, our data tag. You can change data tag, shouldn't need to. Data tag is matching that ID on the outside of the load cell. So it is the last 4 digits of the ID on the outside. The configuration pin is what we were talking about prior. So if you need to change that, here's where you would change it. The view pin we talked about in setting up a project. If you were to set up a separate view pin, this is where you would also change that. Measurements tab over here, we have our transmit rate. By default, they come at once per second. We can turn this down to 1 every 10 seconds. All the way up to 10 per second, or if you want to put the load cell fully to sleep. I find the 3 per seconds is a good way out between responsiveness as well as battery life, but that's really up to you to decide what you're doing on. If you need something with higher acquisition rate here, a 10 per second can kind of get you there, but it's going to kind of get you lesser battery life over that. So we're going to click done out of that. Resolution is essentially how granular the data coming in and being read from the load cell is. Should not have a need to change this over here, but we're going to keep this at what it says for default in here. And as we can see, if we change anything, it's going to affect our battery life as well. So we're going to see also our low battery level, default 2.4 volts. That's going to depend on what battery we are running in there. If we're running a lithium ion battery versus a typical battery, that's going to have different low battery levels in here. So we'll be able to see low battery level, our actual battery level, and then just below we can look at our value in kilograms. So what this is going to be current reading of the load cell right now. So slightly different than system 0 below. So the system 0 is how much of a 0 is applied within the load cell right now to bring us to a 0. So if we're looking below, we're going to see our value in kilograms in here. So this is the actual reading right now coming from the load cell. The system 0 is going to show how much of an offset is applied right now to the load cell to leave us at our 0 value. This is an important spot for the 0 now, as we can see in blue. If we were bringing our load cell, let's say between cold temperatures, warm temperatures, like in a wintertime environment to indoors, outdoors, once it stabilizes temperature, you might have to double check. Potentially, you might have to re-zero a load cell if it drifts based off temperature, if you're sitting in a cold environment. So this might be, that's a normal item. And so this might be where you would have to actually reset that 0 in here. This pretty much covers all the measurement page. We can see one other tab called calibration. Calibration's locked out. That's only a factory only setting, so we can't access that one. So once we have our measurement items in here and have our identification, we can click save in the top right corner, and that's how we configure the load cell in there. We can come from this, back out, click configuration projects, bring us all the way back. We'll come back to our test project and we can see where we're at. So that wraps up how to configure a Bluetooth load cell in here, how to change any of the settings. Just want to say thanks for watching. If you have any comments on the videos, leave them below, send us a message, and look forward to seeing you on the next one.